please subscribe to help you and your motorcycle perform better.
Little late braking, we're good. The dip is still there, so you can feel the weight transfer, and in feeling the weight transfer, you know you're getting that front tire to bite.
Well, just over 600 miles. So we can see our brake line is attached there. You can see the actual metal of the brake line is hitting the fork because I moved the cables up out of the way for the brake switch. So at that point, we can't have metal on metal. So we've got to loosen it up just a tad and bring it away. Not a whole bunch, but enough. If you want to be precise, you can put a business card in there between the fork and the banjo and make sure that it's safe. That being said, where our brake line comes out, the casting doesn't allow us freedom of movement to push the brake line and move it a whole bunch of degrees. So it's locked the brake line into position, and that's unfortunate because we can't bring it forward away from the fork, and if we could bring the line forward we could get more angle. So bit of a bummer, but it's all right. It works for me for now. Maybe if we upgrade brake lines, there may be a way in which the fitting can come further out. I don't know, we'd have to take a look at that, but for now, as far as the brakes, the angle for the brake lever, it's not where we want it, but it's good enough for now. To test a street setting and then let's say an aggressive street setting. Now in a couple of reports people have talked about the bike having or feeling from the reviewer that the bike's flexing with the frame, which is causing that kind of oscillation. In the initial review we did, we talked about how the seat whacks right up and the front pogos. Sometimes that oscillation turns into a figure of 8 on the bars because the back pushes the front and the front pushes the back, so you get a figure of 8. So if they'd have stuck race tires on it and gone on with slicks at the track, because I didn't read the article, yeah, it's possible that you could get that, because again, this is the MT-07 tubular frame, and behind there is the tubular frame behind the cover.
As opposed to the Aprilia RS660, which as you can see has a true twin spar frame and strengthened swing arm. That's not to say a trellis frame can't be built to race-ready stiffness, but the MT-07 is only built to handle road riding stresses.
Now on your standard MT-07 versus the R7, that is plastic. This is metal. So that adds structural rigidity to the middle of the frame, and that's controlling flex from the headstock through the frame to the swing arm. So a little more structural stability here. It would be good to put an MT-07 on track and see how it feels in the corners and then see how much of a net benefit this is. But that's an interesting structural addition to the bike that is different. The swing arm's identical in length, so there's no difference there at all. They're both 21 inches from axle to center swing arm pivot. So at that point, that's the only structural difference that we can see between the two bikes. It's possible with enough grip that you could absolutely cause the frame to move. The key part is to do all the measuring, set everything up, and now that we've broken it in, before we go any further, look at the tire wear and see what the tire wear shows us based on the original review and see if that holds true. Now as far as 600 miles go, it's just getting everything scrubbed in. It isn't about attacking the corners. So there's a differential height across the tread where this is already lower. The next thing to do is get our suspension set up correctly or as best we can. And what are our options in doing that setup? Okay, rear shock. We know there's no static at all, so I'm going to go down the ramp until such time as I get static. So we are 1, 2, 3, position 4 on the ramp. Let's see if we can adjust it from here. Wires are a little in the way, let's move them.
Question now is, as we ride, does the bike absorb the bumps evenly? And if it does, that's great, but how does it deal with the majority of the bumps? Because we don't know that until we ride it. So this road's a wonderful test for us to figure out what we need. So at this point, given surface irregularities, for the most part my voice of course is not jumpy all over the place and broken from all the impacts from the bumps. So what we've done with the R7 is set it up for aggressive riding in the twisties. Now we're going to set it up for mixed conditions, and the point is to get it to go over the top. Okay, now with a slightly floaty setting, I want to see how this feels. What's the goal? Well, aside from letting the bike suspension move more, the goal there is twofold. One is to kind of absorb the bumps better because you can get more stroke, and secondly, especially for longer corners, it's constantly pushing the tire into the ground. And if that's the case, then especially on bumpy roads, you're going to get more frequent contact patch with the ground, which technically will give you more grip more of the time.
Catch the full video at DaveMossTuning.com.